Hello everyone, my name is Daniel and I am just a casual racer, and today we are in Raceroom. And I'm visiting this because this exact combination here you can do entirely for free through May 29th, essentially the end of the month. And that is because Raceroom is doing a free trial where you can try out the 1990s Volvo S40 that I'm driving here. It's a Super Touring car. And then of course the AI field here, as in all Raceroom races, you can have, even if you don't own a car, you can still race against any of the cars in the game. So you can do this whole Super Touring racing at Classic Silverstone, which is also for free as a trial. And you can do this exact combination and have a really fun time, and also I think get a great experience of, if you don't own Raceroom, if you haven't purchased any content in the past, perhaps this is a great opportunity to see, okay, am I interested in buying Raceroom? Am I interested in just the historic content in Raceroom? Because the nice thing about Raceroom, you don't have to buy everything. You can just purchase the historic content if you want. You know, that's kind of the nice thing about being free to play and just purchasing the content by itself. Raceroom doesn't have a subscription model. One thing to note, though, is if you are looking to buy Raceroom content, make sure you look up the virtual racing points, kind of these credits. You'll get a big discount if you purchase those on their, I think it's the KW website, and then you go into the game and use the credits to purchase the content. I actually used some credits I had in my account, and I bought Avis, which is a classic circuit, and there was another classic like airport circuit that was kind of obscure, Fipoltz or something like that. And then there's also, I did not get, but there is a classic Hockenheim and I think one other classic circuit. So a decent little handful of classic circuits. They also get the 1995 DTM class of cars. And then of course there's some early 2000s cars. So kind of this early, mid to late 90s and even to early 2000s historic racing in Raceroom. And say historic, yeah, 25, 30 years ago, that's historic. I was born in the mid 90s, so a lot of this stuff, right? I wasn't active for a lot of this era of racing, and then for a lot of you who are historic fans, it was kind of maybe some of your core memories, some of your younger racing years when you got into racing, perhaps. I know some German sim racing enthusiasts who, for them, some of those 90s DTM years were some of their greatest memories, racing memories, as a young adult or even a teenager. So you can totally dive into that, and Raceroom has dived in headfirst to deliver kind of that content. Really interested to see where they'll go with it. In terms of like Raceroom overall, right? Visually, maybe not the most, kind of iRacing level. Maybe a set of course if you don't got it modded out like crazy. But it has extremely good and top tier physics. So maybe you've played Automobilista 2, right? And it's got historic content. You don't really connect with that. Maybe you're more playing the, Le Mans Ultimate or Assetto Corsa Competizione, and you're just kind of looking for a secondary sim, maybe to dive into some more historic racing in those eras that this Raceroom is kind of covering, appeals to you, give this a try, right? There's nothing to lose here. It's an entirely free thing to try out. I love what Raceroom's doing by giving some free content to try out. And if you enjoy it, might be a really good kind of rotation sim to add when you feel like sim racing is maybe getting a bit stale in your primary sims. I will say this, I totally understand the feeling, and to me, Raceroom isn't necessarily a top sim, and I don't think it is for many people, but it also, they do enough unique things and do enough core things well that I think it does find a place in most people's sim racing game rotation, and so it does get used. It's just not the car up there inside here is battling for 34th, or 33rd, excuse me. But yes, they need to do some more work, I think, on the visual side. They also need some detail work, right? This is even a newer model. And I think a lot of the newer models, newer tracks, newer cars look really good. Good interiors. Right here, this Volvo S40 looks great. Look at that mirror, right? The rearview mirror. See those edges? They're kind of rough. Like, how does that slip through a supervisor's review? If I'm at Historic Sim Studios or Authentic and one of my 3D modelers delivers a model, which, like, to be honest, that could totally be a realistic thing that someone delivers to me. I'm just going to circle it, the red or green highlighter, and I'm going to send it back to them and be like, smooth that. We need a higher poly count on that curve. This is, like, where you're viewing. The driver is going to be viewing. The user is going to be viewing this area. These curves here, this is where you use high poly count. You cut the poly count in areas of the cars, like behind the driver, or even maybe the seat. You know, there's areas you can cut, and there's areas that you can't cut, and to me, that mirror edge is one you don't cut. So, a little bit odd, right? And that's some of the things that, in my opinion, hold Raceroom back from being a top sim for a lot of people, is just some of these, I don't know, outdated edges that still just sit around, right? There's no weather effects, which I think sometimes weather isn't the biggest deal, but there's also no like real 24-hour night cycle. So, and that would be, I think, a bigger improvement. Oh, and there we got a car off. A bigger improvement to focus on. Alright, up into 31st. See if we can work our way into the top 30s. I will say this car drives really, really fun. Having driven DTM cars in other games and things like that, this car feels a little bit like it's got maybe a little more mechanical grip, perhaps from a better suspension. I also think maybe it's got a little more aero downforce. Maybe it's also just a little lighter. I don't know, but it doesn't feel light. It's still a pretty heavy car, but it also at the same time, it has what feels to be more grip, more mechanical grip than like a DTM car, or maybe, you know, the jalopy type racer, sedan racer series. So I'm really quite enjoying the way this car handles. Really good combination. It was smart they chose this combination because it really is a lot of fun. And who knows, maybe you just boot this up and you just enjoy this, and you know, you have some fun in Raceroom and you get a taste of what Raceroom kind of offers. You don't even have to purchase Raceroom. You could just have a couple of good races with this combination, and now you have another sim under your belt and it costs you nothing. You know, in the back of your mind you can be like, hey, I enjoyed Raceroom for a weekend or for a week on and off here. Spent a few hours in the sim, right? Ran a couple races. It was enjoyable, maybe not enough for me to dive all the way in, but now I know what Raceroom's like, and I think that's valuable in and of itself, right? Especially if you're a big sim racing enthusiast. So, enjoy historic racing. I really just don't think there's anything to lose here by trying this exact combination out. So, done a good job. I definitely give credit to the Raceroom team. Good to see stuff like this. Flying around here. 31st, we're getting the slipstream here. Have up the inside into the top 30. Big field, 48 cars, and I start at the very end of it. Oh, I kind of locked up there. I'm gonna lose some position, or a position. That was not great. It definitely could be faster if I had more practice time. I've run one practice race with this combination. It went quite well, but I was also just kind of slow. Dropped the AI down to 88 overall. I'm a little bit more competitive, but, you know, working away from the rear to the front, I will say Raceroom's AI is more racy than, like, a Assetto Corsa AI and some other sims. And so, kind of challenging. I won't say they fight me back a ton, but maybe I'd get more of that if I raised the AI up. I'm not sure, but I've always found Raceroom's AI to be middle of the road. Last lap here. Middle of the road to maybe slightly above average. Nothing great, but also there's much worse. So very serviceable AI, good enough to race against, but maybe not groundbreaking. So I do love their custom championships though, so I do that a lot. So the custom championship modes, and I will be potentially doing some more videos in the coming week, or maybe in a couple weeks I'll post them out, where I'll race through some of these historic circuits. Maybe do a little bit of a mini championship. That could be fun. I did that with IndyCar racing in this title, and I put some videos out. I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, and that was quite fun, so I'll probably do something like that. Oh, dove it in too deep. Come on. Hanging around these corners. You got room, though. You can take... Oh! See, you got on me there. Almost got me loose. See, that's what I'd love to see from, you know, AI. We're in sedans, right? A little bit of rubbing. It's the last lap, right? I kind of did a sent it in, almost dive bomb through the corner and pray it sticks, and it did. But, you know, someone gives me a little nudge on the exit. Fair play to them. They let me know I'm there, and they know I'm racing hard, so they're going to race hard back. At least take a look at the inside. It feels so good over the curves. Curves feel great. Cars aren't bouncing all over the place, oddly over curbs. They can attack them, but there also isn't like the curbs don't exist either. This is like a really nice place for curb physics and things like that to be. Alright, so we're in 31st. Gotta get up in the top 30. Gotta get a move here. Oh my! Little fender there. We run him up the road a little. He was definitely going off the road already, but we definitely rode him up there as well. And I got the move done, finished 30th. That's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it, as I've already said. Hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully at least just knowing this is out there, you know you won't miss it if it is something you want to do. But most of all, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week.